Formula 1 makes its way to the Hungary GP. And with this being a European race, we're going to see a lot of upgrades. And some very huge ones with some very big teams bringing big parts here. We know the fight at the front has been very close, same with the back. All the cars are within tenths of each other. And pretty much from the front to the back of the grid, it only makes up like about a second and a half. So the packages that will come here are critical for the teams, and we have confirmation from so many teams. Meaning we should see a lot for my Thursday video. We also have leaked pictures of a team that is bringing upgrades, so we can cover those a bit earlier than usual. Right before getting started into these upgrades, wanted to thank you guys for support on the channel. Amazing as usual. Thank you for the comments and thank you for sticking around. It really means the world to me. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe. It would help the channel out a lot, and it's only going to get bigger and better as I usually say. But let's get started with the upgrades coming here. First team to cover, Williams should be bringing one of their biggest packages of the year in Hungary. They've talked a lot about upgrades and bringing little parts to the car. They're definitely on a better schedule than they usually are, but we've yet to see a bigger package from them. Haas just brought a package to Silverstone. James has talked about bringing a package in Hungary. This is probably to retaliate against the Haas, try and get them more competitive. They had a good weekend out in Silverstone. Hungary could be more of a struggle. Their car does have better downforce, but it's a track that requires a lot of downforce. And I know you guys have asked in the comments about Alpine. The only confirmation we have on Alpine when it comes to upgrades is that after the summer break, there should be a huge package revising completely the car and pretty much a B-spec. But other than that, the Alpine car has pretty much stayed the same. Upgrades have been very little. We saw a floor upgrade. Sauber is also said to be bringing pretty much a B-spec of car here. They're trying to change their trajectory on the season. And clearly they have not been in the best position all year long. And they've got to be improving for Audi to actually stick that symbol on the front of the car. There were rumors in the beginning of the year that this package is supposed to kind of look like the Red Bull with these overbites and these deep side pods, but let's see if they go down that direction. Their car does look kind of like an RB19 to be honest anyways. One of the frontrunners we know that's not bringing upgrades is Ferrari. They've brought packages in both Spain and Imola. Clearly these packages have not worked to what they wanted. It's given them more downforce, but it's caused a bouncing problem in the high speeds, which is making them lose more pace than gain it. The package is doing what's intended, but they can't figure out what the actual problem is from the simulator to track to get these upgrades to work properly and actually give them that proper downforce rather than bounce the car. We do know something is supposedly coming in Spa to try and fix these problems. McLaren has also not confirmed anything here. We saw little minor packages in Silverstone and Austria. The front wing was actually a pretty big deal for them. But when it comes to revising and shaping up any of the floor or the side pods, the car is the best as of right now. They're good on every single track, but maybe they had it planned that in Hungary they would bring something because they were struggling in the slow speeds before, so it's possible. But right now, no confirmation on McLaren. Just keep that in mind. Let's go over those leaked pictures that I was talking about, and this package has to go with Aston Martin. Kind of like we saw with the Ferrari when they were testing in Fiorno when they had their new package for Imola. This is kind of the same case. There was a Silverstone test for the tires, and they've actually used this test to test out these parts that should be coming to Hungary. The first thing we're going to go over is the side of the car and this floor upgrade that they're bringing. This is obviously a significant part to most of these Formula 1 cars. If you don't have the optimal floor downforce, you're always lacking behind. It's why we have those top teams. Aston Martin specifically from the floor hasn't been generating enough downforce, as to why also their tires are getting shredded up in the race. They did have a better Silverstone with their new flexi-ish wing, but this is an integral part to upgrading this car. As you can see, they've changed where that sys structure is, and it's very extreme to the amount of outwash they want coming from the floor. You can also see these comparison pics of how the car looked like in Austria, and then that was also Silverstone. In Silverstone, supposedly they used the Suzuka floor, which was a new upgrade on the car in 2024. But now we see this extreme version of this with also a different barge board that edits. The shape is modified, but it's not that extreme. As I said, we're looking at Silverstone here in that top little picture from the Suzuka floor spec, which worked better than what they brought in Imola, funny enough. Another interesting part that I did not think we would see a team integrate onto their car is this halo solution that we saw in the beginning of the year with the SF24. The SF24 has that Cobra style aerodynamic piece, but now we see the halo solution, which was a very smart innovation by Ferrari, now introduced onto the AMR24. While this will gain them some pace, and really this is just for that aerodynamic efficiency of where you want the air to flow after the halo, and trying to streamline that air down towards the bottom part of that slide pod that they currently have. The main piece and the most important piece of this upgrade is going to be that floor design that they're hoping can be a really big package. At some point we heard from Fernando that this package should put them in the top 5, and I mean top 5 drivers in qualifying and the race, not just top 5 teams, because they're still kind of that 5th team. Now they're fighting with Haas over who's in 5th place. But this is a critical package for them, just like it is for the other 2 teams I want to cover. Red Bull is another team that's bringing upgrades here, and this is another critical package which Marco says has to work. The team has brought packages here and there. We saw a big package in Spain. We've seen revisions in both Austria and in Silverstone when it comes to the floor. And their pace was very strong in qualifying if it wasn't for Max going off into the gravel due to the weird conditions that were going on. But when the race came and it was dry, they were definitely slower than both the Mercedes and the McLaren. And part of that has to be with the setup now being an issue on that car. I thought we'd never get to the day that the Red Bull is struggling to find the right setup. In 2023, this wasn't an issue because they were so far ahead that even if they didn't click that perfect setup, they were still going to be the fastest car. Now with all these teams inching in, specifically Mercedes and McLaren, they have to be perfect with it, and while Mercedes and McLaren are nailing it, they are not. The car does still have the pace to be the fastest, at least in the hands of the best driver currently in Formula 1, Max Verstappen, but clearly it's a tricky car. Obviously, Sergio is still a good driver. It's been a very bad season, but the car's characteristics and balance has been very bad as of lately, and it's tricky to handle. We saw the problem it had in Monaco, and as of the latest races, its balance has just been all over the place. There was a rumored front wing coming here to Hungary, specifically talking with the flexing. I've seen the flexing on the Red Bull front wing. It does it a pretty good amount. I'm not sure they can add much more without the FIA being a bit alerted on what they're going to do. This upgrade is critical for them to get there at the top and for Max to continue to get those points to lead the championship. There's still half of the season to go, so if Lando really does have the fastest car, it could be a tricky time for the Red Bull team. Last team bringing a big package here is Mercedes. I made a whole video dedicated to the Mercedes and the upgrades that have been coming to the car. I talked about that mysterious suspension that they had, so go ahead and check that out. I'll briefly cover what should be coming here. It's been talked about for a lot of the season, a new floor design for them and a revised side pod. They've been bringing small parts here and there. We even saw a revision to the floor in Spain when it came to the weight-wise. We've seen some new beam wings added to the car, and they've just been able to chip away at the deficit they had to Red Bull in the beginning of the season, and now on some tracks, they are actually the fastest car. Their tires still do go out a bit faster than the McLaren and the Red Bull, so they have to work on that before they can call themselves the fastest car and we can see consistent victories from Lewis or George. But considering this track is one of his favorites from Lewis's side, and George even got here a pole position in 2022, I would not count them out here. They've been very good in these types of conditions. Hungary usually tends to give us a little bit of rain, but some big upgrades can really help this team propel to be the fastest car. But what do you guys think about all the upgrades coming here? Hungary is going to be another one of those Imola/Spain type of tracks where we see big upgrades for the cars. It's nice we get to see the package on the Aston Martin already. Maybe even more is coming, but they wanted to test a few things before they got to Hungary. But I'm interested to see what happens. Remember to leave a like and subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.